cartoon discussion. All right. So, since Red and David have no idea what the fuck is going on, leave it up to your boy.
Oh, I know what's going on right now.
I made David fucking slide into them DMs right now. All right.
Okay, click on the bad log.
So this video is a non-anime. This is non-video game. This is cartoon time, boys. Cartoon time. So as you guys know, for those of you who are crying in your pillows right now, Adventure Time has ended. And we've gotten the revelation that a lot of cartoons now are on the process of ending. We hear rumors that Amazing World of Gumball will be ending next year. You guys already know that regular show ended last year, and
Mighty Dinosaurs apparently is getting canned from the YouTube community's perspective.
Yeah, and SpongeBob will never end. Hashtag I need to die.
Oh,
so,
God, yes.
What ends first, SpongeBob or Family Guy? SpongeBob or Simpsons?
Well, Simpsons will go on forever. Fox will milk that till the fucking end of time.
So, the main purpose of this video is in discussion format is my question to all of you is, we're in this age now to where cartoons ending are becoming more of a trend. Because, back then, yeah, there were a few cartoons that actually had proper endings here and there, like Ed, Ed, and Eddie, but
with the big picture show.
Yeah, but we've never had like an officially it's never been known for American cartoons to just like have like a complete ending.
That is true too. I remember as a kid that always bothered me because I remember when I watched through Powerpuff Girls, it was actually through Netflix back when they just did like mail order DVDs. So like I remember I watched through all of Powerpuff Girls, and the last episode of Powerpuff Girls is literally some like shitty one where they're I don't remember. It was like some really not good episode, and they were just like racing around the city like fighting this like comical like enemy where it's like, oh, we gotta go over here, and it ended out like any other episode would, and I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, I mean, and you're right though. Like it seems like cartoons now, they have like legitimate endings. They want to do something with their finale, and that is interesting.
Oh yeah.
So with that being said, because we're all anime fans here. So that being said, it's kind of interesting. Where do you think this kind of like movement is going forward for American cartoons? Because Cartoon Network isn't the only one that's ending stuff. Disney is also officially ending stuff. Gravity Falls and had a proper ending. A lot of cartoons now are having proper endings. Like even Samurai Jack came back and had like a proper ending. So my thing is that I feel like this is great for the community because I feel like it's kind of weird because endings leave a bad taste in people's mouths sometimes, but at the same time it's kind of positive.
See, I'm the opposite. The lack of an ending leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Here's an interesting bit of tidbit of information.
High five, Freudian slip. Okay.
Yeah. Fucking, I need sleep, my dude.
No, yeah, like he's dying, Thurman. Like you're doing this to David right now.
So like you're getting delirious and also slightly drunk, David, in this video. So congratulations.
True.
But there's a little bit of tidbit of information here, my dude. Adventure Time's not really ending. It's getting a comic. That's continuing the plot from the ending.
Do we get the lesbian adventures of Bubblegum and Marceline forever?
I mean, they're both immortal, so I'm sure you'll get...
As our artist Utena made me very aware, because they're both immortal, their lesbianness will live on. They'll be eternal lesbians floating through space during the heat death of the universe.
So see,
but like the same thing happened to regular show though. Like, they got a comic continuation.
And now Pops is eternally floating through space as a dead corpse, probably.
Yeah, probably. I haven't read any of the comics. They're in my Comixology reading list. I'll eventually read them. Right now, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers takes precedence over all comics.
That's actually... I kind of like that they're continuing the world with comics. It's almost like... here's like what could be considered like the end of like this thing, but like
they did the same thing with Korra.
No, I like it because it's like one of those things where it's like some people, and I know how it feels. Like there are some characters that you just can't let go of, and like that would definitely be like a good fix for some. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty cool. What do you think about that, Thurman? The comics aspect.
So I think that it's great because I mean think about it, right? Because something that starts as a cartoon, it gets popular, and then it's about time for it to die out. having it continue in some other form of media is perfect because it doesn't feel like it's being milked, it's in a different form, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of like, even though technically officially Adventure Time the cartoon is ending, they can still continue the series in another format, which is
in a
great.
much cheaper format too, a much easier to make format.
Yeah, kind of like the Doctor Who effect. Like they can explore a hell of a lot more here. And
that's a point I made to David when we were watching Doctor Who. Like the thing with Doctor Who is they can go anywhere in time and space, and it's so much easier in the comics because they can just draw whatever the fuck they want. They can go hog wild with it, and then in the show they really have to be constrained to like budget constrictions.
Exactly. So like they have that freedom there in the comics, and they don't have to worry about like this animating this fucking creature that has like 9 million arms and 37 dicks.
What, David? Ew. I was mostly thinking of the fucking caterpillar, the wink-wonk caterpillar. Like,
dude, I don't fucking know.
I want a sequel to the wink-wonk caterpillar. Like
this is what you get at fucking almost 3 a.m.
Wasn't there? Hold on.
And tired.
In Adventure Time, remind me. Wasn't there an episode in Adventure Time where it was like implied that like they were in some like dreamlike state because of like one of those caterpillars, Thurman?
I stopped following Adventure Time a long time ago.
Well, you're a heathen.
Yes, there is.
I'm so like. That's almost one of those Courage the Cowardly Dog theories where it's like they've been in fucking under the control of a caterpillar.
Like they were skin puppets all along.
That's what the comic should be, right? This whole fucking the whole rest of the show from that caterpillar was just one big like lesbian fetish dream from Finn. He was just leading up to like that's what he wanted. Finn is just a dirty perv boy like everybody else.
All right. So my question
triggered feminazis in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I don't know. That will be a maybe to edit that out. I don't know. I just wanted to make a joke.
Mine was possibly worse. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
My question to you both is this. I want your thoughts on this. Do you think that because of the new age, how all these cartoons are finally getting an ending now? Do you think it's going to have a positive effect on the American cartoon culture as a whole? And what I mean by that is you think that it might start getting people back into cartoons now, or maybe people it might start adding up, it might start making more positive changes towards the cartoon industry if they see that writers are starting.
It was actually kind of like a plot instead of just a week-to-week thing. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Well, I'll start on that one. So, like, to me, it depends on if they continue to make good cartoons, because here's the question. After Steven Universe and Adventure Time and Gumball are gone, like, what's left? Is there any, like, new shit coming that has, like, any promise? That's the main issue.
Infinity Train is the only thing that I've seen that looks like it has any promise.
Like, what the fuck's Craig McCracken doing right now? Like, he should be making something. I know he tried to make fucking I almost said No Man of Nowhere. It kind of reminds me of No Man of Nowhere. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was Wander Over Yonder.
Yeah.
See, that sounds like No Man of Nowhere, but anyway,
it failed miserably.
But I assume it was good. Craig McCracken's
it failed because of the fucking channel.
I blame Disney. Yeah.
Like the mousecapades, took over. Ha! We own everything. Ha!
But yeah. So to me, it's like if they so the ending, like adding endings themselves, yes, I do think would have a positive effect on the cartoon industry. But they have to continue to make good cartoons. So if they kept making more stuff like Steven Universe and Adventure Time and shit like that, if that was a consistent thing, I think cartoons could be having like a great revival. But the problem is, you're seeing a couple cartoons with really good quality, but not a lot, not enough for like what I'd consider a revival.
Here's my theory, and that kind of ties into yours, Red. We see this era of cartoons, we call it like the dark age of animation here on the channel. We have shit like Thundercats Roar, and we have shit like UniKitty, OK Go, we have fucking The Loud House, we have Trash Titans Go, we have shovelware of cartoons put out.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
And no effort whatsoever put into them, and they're getting no return from the fan base, and they're seeing people turn away from traditional cable to alternatives like Hulu.
Well, yeah, because you'll find a lot where a lot of good cartoons are coming right now is shit like You know, like Netflix has Disenchantment. You have
Voltron.
Yep, Voltron on Netflix. So Netflix has a lot of really good cartoons.
Yeah,
you have
Castlevania.
you know when it's good, like I'm talking like 2 or 3 years ago. You know, stuff like Ruby, like that was just a small little indie. Like, we're just doing something on YouTube, and that became a big thing. You know,
right.
People are going other places for good cartoons,
and they're going there because those creators themselves are going there because they have more freedom.
Creative freedom. Yeah. So, like, to me, it's like you're gonna have a lot more creators. Like going towards the future, you're gonna have a lot more creators starting up Patreons. You know, like here's my concept for this show. If you like it, Patreon it, and then they go from there.
There's a Patreon / Kickstarter called Has Been Hotel that I've been following pretty frequently online, and that's kind of got like that old school like Samurai Jackie, you know, fucking Ed, Edd and Eddy vibe of like
Samurai Jackie. That's the gender bent Samurai Jackie.
Right. I'm just, you know, like that kind of vibe.
I know.
You know, it's getting that, you know, old school Cartoon Network, you know, bordering on that Adult Swim but not quite on Adult Swim vibe. And that's something I respect the hell out of, is like these creators, you know, going outside like, you don't want to produce my show the way I want to? You know, fuck you. I'm going to go elsewhere. And that really there speaks volumes to like how fucking the animation industry, you know, treats shit now.
Yeah, and just as a side note, I think a lot of like people are understanding, like it's on a positive note, the animation industry is starting to be seen as something that's not just for kids anymore.
Right.
Like that, it finally is. Like so Jonan Vasquez, the creator of Invader Zim, I watched an interview with him at the con, and one of the things they asked Comic-Con, and one of the things they asked him was, you know, like in the past you had issues with Nickelodeon not allowing you to do things.
Right.
How is that now? And he flat out said, if they did that again, I wouldn't have said yes to this project. But now that they know, because they know it's a cult hit now,
right.
They know it's a success, they know people are clamoring for it, they know it's a huge project, they basically said, you can do almost anything with this within, you know, logical reason. You know what I mean?
Logical and legality.
Yeah,
reasons.
like we're not going to be cunts about it anymore. Like you can do what you want to do. And I think that people are getting that more and more. And like massive fucking respect to places like Cartoon Network for like you know, because there are still some channels that probably wouldn't have allowed that gay kiss.
Oh yeah.
You know? And so we're seeing the medium of cartoons are becoming a lot of times they're breaking ground and they're doing like really awesome stuff.
We saw it in like Clarence. We saw it in Star versus the Forces of Evil. We've seen it in Adventure Time. We've seen, you know, shit like that. You know, breaking grounds for the LGBT community. We've seen, you know, breaking grounds for, you know, a lot of the racial communities as well. Like you're allowing like mixed races and shit now in cartoons, which is something you wouldn't have seen like 10, 20 years ago.
And I think that cartoons being complex are important because like you will, the type of adults will eventually get is going to come from what they experienced as a child. I've talked to Utena about this. You know, I've always asked her like, what made you? You know, because Utena as a person fascinates us. That's our artist, by the way, if you're new to our channel. Utena as a person fascinates us because she is very young, but she is incredibly intelligent. And I asked her, I was like, what made you the way you are? And she basically said the stuff I watched, and she, you know, rattled off all the stuff she watched, and all of the things that she had watched were like really good cartoons. You know, we'll respond to that in just a second, David.
Yeah,
what do you mean by really good cartoons? Like
I don't remember. This was a conversation I had with her like months ago, but it was like I remember at the time thinking like those are like legitimately good, like well-made cartoons with like actual. By really good, I mean like they have deepness, they have complexity. That you know, we're not talking Teen Titans Go. We're talking like she watched shit like, you know, like actually well-made things. You know, the point I'm making, like well-made, and there's actually a message behind it. It's not just me. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. And that is, I think that especially now, like the cartoon, I think that the kids that are going to grow up watching stuff like Steven Universe and Adventure Time will grow up with like better imaginations.
Oh yeah.
Will grow up to want to be more curious and explorative and more creative, and I love that. And especially Steven Universe.
And they're going to be a lot more fucking culture than the kids that grow up watching Teen Titans Go and Thundercats Roar and shit like that.
So and Steven Universe teaching very, very good things in a subtle way. Like it's not beating you over the head with it. It's just kind of like implanting good messages in your head. And, Chris Velasquez has gone through that. That's one of our buddies. He has actually broke that down a lot to us privately in a chat about like there's like metaphors for like sexual relations. Like,
the fusion dance.
Berkeley does that.
Yeah,
Berkeley does that.
It's impressive what they've implied through so subtle means in that kind of cartoon. And like I said, like 10, 20 years ago, none of this would have been allowed on TV.
And of course, before you try, I'm sure there's a couple fringe examples here and there, but it's a lot, like,
this here did this 20, 30 years ago, and look at me, I'm so cultured.
Go ahead, Thurman.
I mean, honestly, I feel like it depends on how you do it, because if like stuff that puts in the LGBT community, back then it probably wouldn't have flew. But there's a lot of stuff back then that got through stuff that parents like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, but that wasn't like, I'm talking about like deep things that like taught you shit. That was just like crazy for crazy's sake.
Thurman. If you're even bringing up the sawing of the log on Ren's back,
I met Ren and Stimpy's co-creator at the con. Remember? I don't know when he was.
No, but that was
was on the adult show, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
that wasn't on the mainstream show. That was on the one that was on Spike.
I did meet the co-creator of Ren and Stimpy, and I talked to him about how I watched that show with my dad. And it was like a bonding experience with me and my dad, because there wasn't a lot of stuff that I did with my dad other than that, like that and a couple other things. And his exact response was, we definitely made it as a son and dad kind of show. Definitely not a son and mom kind of show.
So, like, because, like, if you remember it, there's literally an Invader Zim episode where Zim literally takes
he's harvesting the organs, my dude, absolutely.
Yeah, like, you literally see an episode of him taking eyeballs out of someone's
head. Yes, but
like,
the point still stands, Thurman, that, like, a lot of people assume that that's the episode that got that shit canceled.
Yeah. It was not subtle at all, and one of the co-creators of that show is in super legal trouble or legal trouble?
Not that I've heard of. What are you talking about?
Let me fucking Google that, because
was
like sexual harassment
of like viewer rating, viewer ratings. Wasn't that the issue why I got canceled? Because honestly, we're too far into the anime community because like, and this is one thing I want to bring up too, is that I've been seeing a lot going around.
Creator accused of multiple.
Oh, you're talking about Ren and Stimpy. We were talking about Invader Zim. All right, what is it?
Because going back to that, like.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay, Google it yourself. We don't. Just Google Ren and Stimpy co-creator legal problems. We're not going to talk about that. It's a little dark.
So a lot of things I've been seeing going around is this, because there's a lot of fan bases, a lot of fans out there who are into anime and American cartoons. A lot of I've seen, not a lot, but I've seen a few people starting to rise up and kind of say like how American cartoons are starting to not really see the same quality, but starting to follow the same formula that anime does, because anime itself is adaptation. Obviously there are animes out there that are made by like studios like Darling in the Franxx isn't really adaptation.
Code Geass is its own original one too. Yeah,
but overall, anime itself, the platform itself, is technically a adaptation of like manga, video games, light novels, etc. So, and even then, they have this staple of 12 episodes, 25 episodes, 13 episodes, 50 episodes. And a lot of people are saying like, because this is this whole war about which is better, American cartoons or anime. I like both. I don't give a fuck.
There is a distinctly different storytelling style between them, though. Yeah.
And people are starting to say that American cartoons are starting to lead the anime route to where each season has like 11 episodes, 10 episodes, 12 episodes. And me personally, I want your thoughts on this. Me personally, I kind of like that.
I do too. And so here's my thoughts on that. My thoughts are, anything being more plot driven, I love. Because actually, for the longest, there's hardly any shows. I will barely ever get into shows that are, I used to call it Monster of the Week type shows. The only exception to that is Doctor Who, and that's because...
What about Rick and Morty?
Yeah, but like, I'll tell you right now, the part that I like about Rick and Morty, the biggest thing that I like about Rick and Morty is the through... Why do you think the thing I got the most hyped about was the evil Morty thing?
Oh yeah,
You know what
I mean, like, it's still at its core Monster of the Week style.
And as I was about to explain, what makes it okay with Doctor Who and Rick and Morty is the same premise. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Rick and Morty is like M-rated Doctor Who. It really is.
Yeah.
So if you like Rick and Morty, you'll like Doctor Who to some extent. But what I was going to say was...
Get past the first couple seasons, though.
Yeah, it just gets better and better, Doctor Who. But what I was going to say was, when it comes to those... they're okay because they have like a through storyline. That's what I prefer the most, right? So like there's two styles. There are some like let's talk like Avatar: Last Airbender style. Like that's one where every episode is furthering the plot. You miss one episode, you're fucked. You know, you should not. Yeah, right. That's one style. There's another style where it can still have a through storyline, but they also are. It's like half and half. So like Teen Titans did pretty well with like every episode they were fighting a different person, but there was still shit going on. Like it was kind of like Slade. You know, you'd see Slade every couple episodes, like what's he up to.
So,
you know, so I like it when they do that, right? So like because I was trying to think what could have caused this change, and I think one of the things that might be causing it is the shift over from watching shit on a weekly basis when it comes on TV to more of a binging style. Like that's kind of what people do now. They just let like a whole season pile up, spend their weekend watching it all, right? So like they don't have to worry as much about like, oh, well, what if someone's jumping in on episode 6? Because people don't do that as much anymore, and I'm glad because that allows them to tell deeper stories, you know? So like my final point here is I've always preferred stories that have at least some sort of like through storyline, either be it like, you know, the Rick and Morty Doctor Who style where there's at least there is progression. As long as there's some progression. That's always been my rule with storytelling, right? If it feels like it's going nowhere, I hate it. It's got to be going somewhere.
Right.
So for me, I love it. I do love this change because it makes for stories that I like.
Okay, I'm going to diverge a little bit from cartoons here, but it's going to tie back into it. Like, I tie a lot of this to, like, the Walking Dead effect, as I call it. You know, how it dies quite bad in the 3rd season, and a lot of people drop a series. Because we see that a lot now, is, like you said, the binge-watching effect. A lot of people go back to series, you know, like, oh, I was enjoying, you know, at the beginning, and then they go back to it, right? And then a lot of these shows, these cartoons now, like, you're seeing, like, Gumball, you know, Adventure Time, you know, those series, you know, at the beginning didn't have a whole lot of shit, you know, tying together. But they had that little bit of effect of like, okay, we're going to tie everything together here near the back end of it. So that's what I call like the fucking Walking Dead effect. It's like the beginning of Walking Dead is like, okay, we're going to establish a few characters. We're going to, you know, do a little bit of world building here, and it's going to be slow as fucking dicks. And then we're going to, you know, tie shit together more and more as we go on. You know, that happened with Adventure Time really, really bad. You know, when the fucking showrunners, you know, shifted a little bit in the seasons. And then they started to tie everything
back. It's actually a really good point you make there because I got to be honest, I dropped Adventure Time in the beginning, and now if I was watching it today, I probably wouldn't have because I'm more patient. But back then, the reason I dropped Adventure Time was because it felt like a Monster of the Week scenario or a scenario of the week, right? And I've always preferred one and once I started hearing that there was some plot, like I started seeing things like, oh, here's a flashback of Ice King, and before he was Ice King, and here's like there was
how
shit,
the witch, you know, came to be.
There was shit actually happening plot wise. So once I heard that, I was like, okay, that makes me want to watch it again.
Right.
Same thing with Steven Universe. I watched the first season of Steven Universe. And I didn't like it because it was it's scenario of the week, but I had heard again and again that it starts to get plot heavy, and so I'm very glad about that because that's actually one of the biggest reasons that I've always been anime over cartoon comics or anime over Western anime over cartoons in America or manga over Western comics is because more often than not always, but like typically, anime and manga actually has like a destination, whereas American stuff seems to just kind of like loop and try to go forever and reboot and blah, blah, blah. So, but if they're changing that, that's awesome because that means more stories that I can enjoy.
And the reason I brought up Walking Dead is that 3rd season was so goddamn dull that almost, you know...
I've heard that show's gone so downhill.
Oh, yeah, it has. But it's also a lot of the behind-the-scenes drama as well. But, you know, read the comics. It's a hell of a lot better. But a lot of people dropped it in the 3rd season because of that effect. Like, it just slowed down to a grinding halt. And then it picks back up. And then now...
I think that's one of the most important things in a story is you have to have a good sense of destination.
Exactly.
Where are we going? What's the goal? Because that's what you root for. Like so when we're reading One Piece, from the fucking first chapter, it's like... Luffy's gonna find the fucking One Piece. That's what we're in here
Exactly.
for him to see that. You know what I mean? Naruto, it's like gotta become the Hokage. You know,
Right.
like I love series where you have a clear goal and you're just like you feel the progression towards that goal.
And a lot of the issues with that series was they amalgamated a bunch of the characters into other characters, and then just decided to take the plot from that. You know, and that's a little bit of like the Adventure Time effect here. Is like Finn, you know, has to do all this, you know, find out all this bullshit, and then, you know, discover, you know, the Lich and the Ice King's plot threads and all that shit, and it all tying together at the end there, as it happened last week. You know, and finding out, you know, what happened with the world and all this wonderful shit, the Gum War and all that. And now possibly this fucking new characters that came in the opening being a spinoff that's been theorized. But all of that tying together over all these fucking seasons. And what I hate about that is a lot of the shit came through, like, the app first. So it allowed people to, like, binge watch it and spoilers leak through. And then go on to network television, and that's what.
That's why we're getting to a point where it's like, fuck network television, fuck it. Like
Exactly.
just like honestly, go ahead, Thurman.
It's becoming to a point where network television is kind of dying, and I feel like they kind of.
It's been
really
dying for almost 10 years.
Like Nicktoons, Cartoon Network, and stuff like that, they're kind of noticing that because you know that Netflix having all these Netflix originals now.
Yep.
You know, Hulu's having Hulu originals, and even before, you know, even before Verve doing and Crunchyroll doing the little Hive Guiding Spice controversy, even they're trying to do their own stuff, you know. So I feel like when it comes to, because my favorite cartoons now that I need to catch up on are Amazing World of Gumball, when eventually Rick and Morty comes back. But the reason why I like Amazing World of Gumball so much is that it feels original. It feels like this is a series, like this is like my Gintama of the cartoon world. Like once Amazing World of Gumball ends, I will feel some type of way because it's like this cartoon. It's just like an angel coming down from above, saving this era because of how great it is. And it seems that it's ending next year. I'm kind of sad, but then again, I'm kind of happy. I feel like seeing a change in an industry is what's going to make an industry change for the better good. And I feel like with other writers, with other people seeing that these networks are allowing the creators to end their series when they want, it's good. Because one thing that cartoons do have over anime industries and manga writers is that they can pick and choose when to end their series whenever they want. You know, like yes, Cartoon Network and Nicktoons and Disney are all about money, but at the same time, it's like they're not gonna. It's just there's no like ball and chain over their neck, you know, like unless your contract is fucked up or whatever, like Butch Hartman or whatever. But I'm saying like there's more freedom to end your series rather than like Jump, to where like Jump is like saying no, you're gonna make like 55 more chapters until we get more money, and then you can end your series, you know, or you're not gonna be forced to series just because the ratings aren't good, like how they did Kubo, which is fucked up.
Yeah, no, that was good shit, Thurman. I agree. And
I have 2 points I want to bring up, Tony.
Good.
Okay, so here's point one, and this one for the viewers as well. So with the whole locking behind the app for initial viewers that they do with like Steven Universe, did with Adventure Time, they did with Regular Show, they do with all their cartoons that aren't titled Teen Titans Go. Do you think Cartoon Network's trying to push more towards the binge market, you know, and
I think that's the future, honestly.
oh yeah. I feel that's the future. That's why I don't bother paying for fucking cable.
Do you know what I do? What I'm going to do when Doctor Who like comes out in exactly a month from now, actually, October 7th, the new season. That's what I did last year too. I'm just gonna buy the whole season on Amazon Prime, like boop, and then I just get it. Like exactly. An hour after it comes out on TV, and then I can just watch it. Yeah,
exactly.
Without no ads.
Yeah. So there's question one and question two. With all these series ending, do you think we're going to, with Infinity Train being the first, you know, cartoon that comes back from Cartoon Network after this era of cartoons ends, do you think we're going to have, you know, more quality cartoons, or do you think we're going to suffer? Because right after Infinity Train, if I'm not mistaken, the next cartoon to release on Cartoon Network is Thundercats Roar. And then I also have another question to pose to the audience that you, Thurman, brought up a very, very good point here, and I'm actually very fucking proud of you. This is Drunk David praising you like a father. So, with the wonderful, analogy you brought up, of like them allowing creators to end shit instead of becoming like another Butch Hartman or another whatever SpongeBob's fucking creator's name is, I forget, because it needs to goddamn end already, like a mercy killing, two to the back of the fucking head. Do you think we're going to see more creators be able to have that creative freedom in the future, or do you think they're going to be tied down like a mangaka, essentially?
Honestly, if I can give you my theorized answer to that, I'm going to say probably no. I'm going to say yes. Well, here, let me start over. I'm going to say maybe, because I feel like it depends on the network. That because Nicktoons, Disney, and Cartoon Network always have this essential rivalry. Like you can always, like, people argue, well, '90s Cartoon Network was way better than Nick '90s, but '90s Nick was better than '90s. It's whatever, it's whatever you because there's always a war on there in the mirror, because just like how Marvel, DC, Image, and Shueisha and Kodansha, and all these other companies compete. Nick, Disney, and Cartoon Network are still competing to have the most views for their cartoons. So you can consider it a trying to hire the most creative cartoonists to go on your network. Although, like Red said, networks are kind of dying now, so kind of like content creators are finding some other platform to get their stuff known out there. Because it's becoming more and more popular to use the internet to get your show out there instead of an actual network.
And I think that's kind of going to be the shift that we have, and I think that shift is kind of what's leading into people being able to, or cartoonists being able to kind of like tell a more story-driven show. I mean, even, we brought up Butch Hartman earlier, and regardless, like, not even delving into the controversy, because there's a lot of controversy. Fuck the controversy. Let's actually talk about the shows. He is on his shitty little fucking streaming app that he wants to make, that I'm not even convinced will see the light of day or even get off the fucking ground. But he wants to make some original shows that I'm honestly interested in, like Elf Detective, and Elf Detective is the big one. Apparently it's going to be. He even said it's anime inspired, and it's got like a through plot line, like actually heavy plot related. And I've heard that a YouTuber named Kuro the Artist actually is helping him work on it, and this was before the controversy, to be fair. And he said it was actually, like, it's going to be pretty fucking cool. So, but I mean, so like you even see cartoonists like him leaving networks in favor of, hey, I'm going to make my own show on the internet, where I have all this creative freedom and I can make all this plot shit,
Here's why I brought this up. Like, you see that, and you see, Disney being the smug prick businessman, like, I own half the fucking world. And, God, I'm doing the Kyle Kalinske way too much. But, like, you see that so much, and you see them milking the Star Wars franchise. They brought back Star Wars: The Clone Wars. They're having that Star Wars Resistance or whatever the fuck, that anime-inspired, Star Wars thing. I'm going to assume it's going to have, like, a through plot line like Red likes. You see them milking, like, the Marvel franchise. They're doing, like, a Black Panther cartoon. You see them milking their IPs that they've, absorbed and fucking symbioted into, like, a Garbo Man style symbiote.
What's the point?
But, like, and then you see Cartoon Network, allowing creators to shit on their own terms. You're seeing them allow, okay, you want to end this cartoon within a year, let's wrap it up, with, like, the Gumball, with the Adventure Time, wanting to have a natural feeling ending. And then you see Nick, who are still milking.
What have they made in the past 5 years?
Oh, The Loud House.
Haven't heard of it.
And I think Pickle and Peanut.
Haven't heard of it.
And then SpongeBob. It's SpongeBob.
Apple and
No.
Like, and are they still doing, like, Fairly Odd Parents, or did it finally end?
No, it's still going. It's going without Butch, which is how you know it's bad.
Yeah, they're making a new team. They made a new team in Team 2. I don't know how good that is, though.
Yeah, it looks like hot garbage. And that has nothing to do with, them making Black April. It has to do with the fact that they've decided to flip the roles. They've flipped, all of that shit on its head and made it Cal Arts. And I don't have anything about...
Are you talking about the style and how bad that looks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Cal Arts inherently. I have an issue with effortless shit out animation to fill a fucking license to be able to continue to milk it.
Let's focus this video back down into its main point as we end it off here, because we have to end it off here soon before it's a fucking hour. So the main point from everything we've said here is going into the future of American cartoon animation here. We see a shift in more story plot driven ways and style, but also kind of unclear on like quality, because you almost have like there's a big split. There's no consensus, because some you have your Teen Titan Go's and your shitty Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and your shitty Thundercats or whatever, right? But then you also have people that come in and make your Steven Universes and your Adventure Times. And I think the main thing that I'm expecting to see, and we can all end this out as our predictions and try to keep them under a minute each, please, for the love of God, where I personally see this going as most of the talented people, like your Rebecca Sugars and your, which is, by the way, a great name. Like, every time you hear Rebecca Sugar, you're like, oh, Steven Universe girl. She like, people like her, people like
Pendleton Ward.
They're going to be, in the future, people that are creative like that. Why in God's name would they go to a network when they could just fucking start a Patreon?
I mean, Pendleton Ward and Bravest Warriors, fucking...
Yeah. Think about it.
They're on Verve. They're on Channel Federator.
So it's going to be like this is going to be a very GameStop situation where they have to these networks have to evolve or die.
Yep.
So if they can evolve and create almost maybe like an internet situation where like maybe potentially Cartoon Network could create its own YouTube style thing where they are host.
I really think that's their focus with that app.
Because I like the idea of forgive the beeping, our dishwasher's done.
I'll do it.
Okay, no, it just stopped. It stopped on its own. I was about to fucking give it the stare down. Anyway, I like this. My idea is that...
Sat on my ball sack.
My idea is that they could create like a YouTube style thing where they like support indie cartoon creators, and maybe like hopefully they could do it fairly. Like maybe for giving it like publicity, they take like a 5 to 10% cut of the revenue it gets, and then they could kind of be like, what's the word, like producers, or like they help with some of the, but like I could see a cool system where like, okay, if you meet this requirement, we'll host your cartoon and we'll push it out. If it hits this amount of popularity or views, we'll even start helping out with the budget and stuff like that. That could be a cool system that they could do.
Especially shit on Rooster Teeth's policy. They did sort of like that animation fund at RTX.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
so I'm kind of seeing, possibly some of these producers and shit, and these animators go over to their little network that they've created with that fund and utilize that and be like, hey, you're going to give us creative freedom, we'll work with you,
Yeah, so I see...
Hopefully it doesn't become a Ruby Love.
That's the future. The future is streaming platforms, and if Cartoon Network and Nick and Disney want to survive, they're going to have to jump
Disney will survive regardless.
Survive in that industry. They have to jump over to that because cable's dying, and they're going to try to jump over, and maybe they'll succeed, with the net neutrality laws, blah blah. Who knows? But
all right. So my final thoughts are essentially. My final thoughts are going to be left with a theory/question to everyone watching, to the viewers. Okay. We see influence. We see that humans are greatly influenced by what they see and what other people do and other people's achievements. People are influenced by that, and that's the negative and positive of human nature. So, with that being said, with One Piece, I'm sorry, Adventure Time ending, and with Gumball ending, SpongeBob never ending, and all these cartoons now finally starting to crack down. All these cartoonists finally starting to crack down. Even Avenger of the Week stuff are starting to crack down and starting to end. Do you all think that this essential positive influence of actually ending the show on a note, giving people closure, do you think that this will affect how cartoonists and networks will start to brand out more for cartoons in general? because cartoons are still fairly popular. Cartoons are getting more and more popular now amongst adults. Even we have like South Park.
Well, yeah,
Simpsons.
nerd culture is bigger than ever. I mean, like the cons the con we go to gets bigger and bigger every year. It's a medium that is becoming more and more popular and more recognized by the society, like normies. I hate to use that term, but I don't know what else to use.
Right.
Like it is becoming more and more popular as like an actual like legitimate art form. Like what I mean?
Right. And Thurman, you bring up like adult animation there being a popular thing, like with Disenchantment, South Park, shit like that. I've seen, and this cringes the hell out of me, at work here even, I've seen, like 12 to 15 year olds, quoting fucking South Park, the later season.
Please, don't act like you didn't watch that shit.
I'm not saying I didn't watch it. I'm just like, them talking about the political bullshit that was in like the later seasons of South Park. I'm like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah, dude.
Like, to me, when I was watching it at that age, it was like fucking shit jokes and, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that just lends to the idea that animation is just more and more of a serious art form, and I love it. I think that is a good thing, and I think that, like I said, to end this video off, I think the future of animation is streaming services being taken more and more seriously, and, not being on cable TV. Final thoughts, Thurman, before I end this video here?
Yeah, perfect, man. I'm just happy that American cartoons are finally starting to, because I'm a humongous cartoon fan. I'm gonna start getting back into binging more cartoons. Actually, Lunatics Unleashed is the next cartoon I'm gonna binge. Me and Gabe need to do our Mucha Lucha review. And
when that ever happens.
But anyway,
let us know in the comments what your favorite American cartoon is. Not anime, American cartoon. Okay, difference.
That David slides out of the end. Fuck.